So it seems when it comes to food, there is no such thing as waste. To prove this, a group of chefs have turned what most people would consider food waste into meals for over 1 million people. They transformed hundreds of tons of food to feed the less fortunate since the start of the lockdown. To speak to us more about this, Chef Arnold and Coo Pillay from Chefs with Compassion join me now. Thank you to you both for speaking to us. So, Arnold, I'm going to start with you. Food waste is a huge problem, with retail grocery stores chucking out tons of food that's expired but is still usable. So how much food do we generally waste in South Africa annually?
I think we probably waste about just over a third of what is produced. That's both food that's come off the farmer, and then food secondary that's been changed into a product that has been sold. And I think if most people just kind of think about what they do at home and how, everyone's got those little tubs of leftovers in the fridge, etc. We don't tend to eat it, we tend to throw it away. We are so conditioned to look at the best by date, not the expiry date. That's without even checking if the milk's okay, we'll put it down the sink. So this is not just a problem in South Africa, it's a universal problem of us just wasting food, which is otherwise 100% okay for us to eat.
Coo, I want to come with you now. How did you get involved, and how do you practically turn that food waste situation around to feed people who otherwise would not have had a meal?
I think we were all found in a very unique situation when the original lockdown came in March last year. I think it was the first time that chefs were actually at home and doing nothing, because a chef's life's always busy, always cooking, catering, no matter which part of the industry you're in. And we found ourselves almost bored at home, but at the same time listening to what the community needed. And at that time, it was access to food and access to nutritional food. And that's how we came together as Chefs of Compassion, not only rescuing the produce that Chef Arnold mentioned earlier, where food goes to waste or produce goes to waste, but also ensuring that the meals that we cook, are nutritional and can also help the communities that we are feeding.
Arnold, you've served more than 1,382,632 meals during the pandemic so far. I'm not sure if those figures are up to date or whether they might be a little bit old. It sounds either way like a massive operation. How does it work logistically, especially given that you make use of volunteers mostly?
Yeah, so I think that those numbers are a little bit old. We've all kind of slowed down a little bit over the festive season, and the share house opened up again, and so the numbers will have gone up. And we'll get the admin guys to sort it out. Logistically, yes, we operate with volunteers, and it's everybody from chefs to people who help us with admin and social media, etc. People who are volunteering their time. One of the most important people we have are NOSH food rescuers, who are actually at the market rescuing food that would otherwise, being incinerated. And so there's a network of people where the food comes into our share house, it's sorted. What is not deemed fit for human consumption is actually also not just thrown away. It's sent to community pig farmers who come, back in a call, they come with their buckies to feed their pigs. And from there, the chefs, which we call hubs, the chefs that cook will come and collect the food. They will then process that within their kitchens, and the charities will collect from, and the beneficiaries will collect from the chefs. So there are three major points in our organisation. The collection of food which otherwise would be turfed away, the sorting, it's then sent to chefs and cooks who transform it into nutritious meals, and then people come and collect the food from the chefs, and they distribute it to recognised NGOs immediately.
Coo, so coming back to you, as Arnold was saying a little bit earlier, it's not a problem unique to South Africa. Countries all across the world are trying to deal with food waste. Some of them have ongoing programs in place, not just during the pandemic. Do you think Chefs with Compassion is likely to become a full-time organisation? And are there other similar organisations in South Africa working to combat food waste?
Look, we've always had this problem, and I think the pandemic has just made it more visible and aware to all of us. And yeah, there are many organizations out there that are trying to also eliminate the wastage that goes to the landfill. And yeah, and I think it starts with everyone. You know, it's wastage, it's food. It's not just from manufacturers or the producers or the farmers, but it's also waste that we would, you know, throw away in our households, you know, stuff that we don't. We'll probably use half a cucumber and then throw the rest in the bin. I mean, that's also part of food wastage. So if we can all do our bit, you know, whether it's restaurants, chefs, canteens, or even the domestic households, you know, we can all do our bit to actually eliminate the wastage. And but at the same time, we still need to feed people, and we also need to, you know, come together to eliminate the poverty and the hunger situation that we have in this country.
Arnold, I want to end off with you, and I'm going to bring up a personal gripe I have here. Part of food wastage, in my opinion, comes from packaging at retailers. Many retailers package purposefully to force consumers to buy larger numbers than they would normally consume in their household. How can chefs and ordinary South Africans go against that, or sort of counteract that, to try and get back to a place where we buy what we need and therefore we use what we need?
Annie, I think it's a very important issue that you've raised earlier, and I think it's twofold. I think, first of all, we as consumers, you know, have the choice of where we buy, say, our meat from. So in other words, if you go into a large retailer, there's two of you in the family, they pack it as, you know, 3 chops, so you have to buy the other packet to buy 6 chops when you actually, you know, are only looking for 2 each. So there's one, and I see some retailers are now counteracting it by starting to do a lot more loose fruit, vegetables, meat. But if you go into the smaller high street dependent, you're obviously also going to be able to choose what you need. That's one. 2 is obviously is the pressure on the retailers to while they're obviously there to make money, is to, and they are very aware of what they're doing from a marketing point of view and sales point of view, is to kind of highlight this wastage, which then is a secondary factor.
Well, thank you very much for speaking to us, and thanks for the amazing work you've been doing throughout the lockdown. We hope to hear more from you as we move out of lockdown one of these days soon.